Good afternoon. It is Saturday, the 12th of October, 2019, and it looks to me like the alts are in for some more pain. And in this episode, we're going to see how much more and what's going to happen after the pain. But before we do, be sure you hit the subscribe button if you like this episode. Hit the thumbs up button. It does make a difference. It makes me happy. This isn't trading advice, it's just market observation. Now let's jump in and see what's going on here. I'm going to turn down the background music. I've done something with my sound settings and I can't hear that properly. And now let me check to see. Can you hear the sound settings properly? Let me know in the chat if all is well. And if you're new to the channel, let me know where in the world you are from. In this episode, we're going to go through ADA, Bitcoin Cash, EOS, Ethereum, Litecoin, Tron, and Ripple, and we're going to make some generalizations to see if what might be happening now could be correlating to what happened in the past. And I'm going to pay specific attention to this time in the past because we were making a potential bottom formation at that time. It had the potential to be a breakout formation, but it was a breakdown formation. So everybody's looking for the breakout formation. I want to pay attention today's episode for the potential for the breakdown formations that may be coming in here. And if they do, it could mean that we're going to hit more lows in these alts that we haven't seen before. And yet, at this time, it's going to be more important than ever to be vigilant for those bottom formations. So even though there may be some bad news coming in, if we know about it, we can prepare for it. And we can keep our wits about us so that we're ready for when this takes off, when it does the bottom formation and take off. So let's go through now. I want to keep this same view and take a look at all of the charts to compare them against this time frame and this chart pattern. So today we'll look at Bitcoin Cash. Doesn't have enough history. My apologies. Normally I turn that off. It doesn't have enough history to give us back to that time here on this market that I'm looking at right now. But I just want to pay attention to what the RSI is doing. Now let's go over to the EOS, and see if it has similar relative strength index preparation as we're all getting ready for a bottom formation breakout. And if Bitcoin's taking off, and Bitcoin dominance takes off, we'll take a look at that at the end of the episode, then we're going to get it. And these are going to break down. We're going to see things failing. And I'll talk more about that afterwards. But I just want to make this observation here, first of all, to verify what's going on with the relative strength index compared to this prior preparation. And we see this divergence setting up in our RSI that didn't have one over in the last one, but this we have a very strong divergence in the RSI, no doubting it. So now we see this pattern, not quite the same in Litecoin. It happened a little bit earlier, actually. Litecoin got soft earlier than everything else, and then everything else went down. Now, if I go into TRX and I'm looking at this same thing, that is the relative strength index. How did that happen? On airplane mode. My apologies. Anyway, look at this RSI setting up where I'm looking for breakouts and nice bottom formation, but it's not shaping up the way I'm wanting. And when we look at Bitcoin dominance, it's gonna have a difference. This is a different chart, though. When this RSI broke this uptrend, we got to pay attention to it. No matter how high or how low we are, this RSI has gone up a long ways, and if it's breaking that trend line, it's going to be the same as breaking a top formation here. It's just a smaller top formation, and prices are could go back more. Who knows? And if Bitcoin is giving a big squish upwards, it's going to hurt the alts. So I just want to go through and look at the early warnings of it. Now, again, I'm holding the same chart pattern, and I am going through all the coins. Instead of going through ADA and all the charts and different time frames, I'm keeping this time frame and relating back over to this same events each time. For what are we looking at here? We got less and less buying. We have pretty good buying, and then it turned into the dumping without much warning. So except for the top formation break, right? We had this chart formation. We had our exponential moving averages in the shorter time frame would have been breaking negative there, much like we are coming up to now. BCH, it just doesn't have any good volume here. So if the dumping comes in, yeah, that's got some ways. I don't know. I just don't know on that. EOS, I want to compare that. In the past, we had some pretty good volume set up here. We've got some pretty good volume, and the volume faded off, then we broke. So it's fading off now, and we're having a potential for this to be a dump off of these levels. So let's continue on the scan. Ethereum. What did you do last time? You gave us a little bit of pump. Look at this nice divergence. Everything was all setting up. It looked like a great bottom formation, and then down she went. So again, it's really the technical levels now, and zooming in on the closer time frame, it's not giving us the big dump on it yet. Let's go into Litecoin and see what the volume was for here. So it was more dumping before the big break, but this also dumped sooner. And now we're getting negative volume at this bottom part here. So these are all looking more and more bearish to me as I go through this and compare what were we seeing here as this was building up to a potential bottom formation, and everything faded off before a big run up. So this is what I want to be prepared for, is that right now we look like we're fading off, but I'm going to keep vigilant day after day after day after this happens, because that's going to be our opportunity. So this gave us some pretty good volume. Let's see what happens over this next while. I want to go on to Ripple and compare what happened here. It's very different, except that the volume went up and up. It peaked, and then as it's going down and we crossed these levels, it went good volume for a long time. It seemed like this would be a positive thing, that all this positive on balance volume would have led it to go up higher from here, but that's not the case. So I'm not going to be completely fooled by this, thinking it's going to be the lead that's going to take us up until it's breaking these levels. It'll be a supporter, but you can see by this, it's not completely that important. Now, this chart I wanted to pay attention to. That's what started me on this specific view of looking at the daily view and going over comparing against this time frame, is that I was watching the MACD going higher and higher, and I thought, where in the past have I seen it go up like this, and what did it do? When we had a double crossover here, what happened next? Well, it went up higher and higher here, and we had the double attempt, and then it crossed to the negative, and down we went. Crossed to the negative. So if this crosses to the negative from where we are, it's important to know what to do, right? To have that strategy planned in advance. If that's going to happen, we got to close these positions or reduce them. Watch for this to cross to the negative as well. We've got even a more bearish divergence off of this front edge here, though it doesn't have the history to give us the perspective of what happened back here. We were right on the edge all the way along, even it just didn't break higher. So here we are on the edge, and it just hasn't broken higher yet. So for the more we're waiting for this to break higher and prove itself, the better protected we are against the potential for something deeper to go down. And Ethereum on this time frame here, looking pretty crappy. It crossed over and down we went. Zoom in on this. Look at this crossover right now. As I zoom back over on that, those are the early warnings that I want to pay attention to. They'll all go together when they go. So if we're starting to see it in one, it's going to unfold into the others too. They're all tied together. Litecoin, down it went. It was making a divergence, and still it took a long time for this to make anything of that divergence before it started to go up. so that we have a negative divergence here and we're fluttering along the side. Who knows? You know, there's no guarantee that we're going to be going up from here. These are not bottom formations that are maturing and turning into a change of direction. They are taking too long along the bottom. Now they're easing off softer and giving us some negative stuff here. Hey there, FNG. Alt season? No, it's looking pretty bad for alt season right now. It might be delayed for 2 weeks or 3 weeks from this. I think we're going to get Bitcoin going up on a swoosh, and the alts are going to get that smackdown that nobody likes. And if we know about it in advance, like it or not, we can be prepared for it and we can profit from it. That is, not be in a big risky position now and have a little bit of spare change set aside that if this were to come down, 50% from where it is now, I might want to consider watching for a bottom formation at that time. So let me go on to Ripple now, and it seems like a big fan or something just turned off. Everything got quiet. Let's take a look at, I'm trying to visually, this is a different chart because it didn't break with everything else. It held itself a little bit longer, and we had these exhaustion wicks off the top and then the pissing off the roof formation. And we had the cross to the negative. I came up cross to the negative weaker. Hello. Cross to the negative weaker. Hello. Look at this divergence setting up. Did I notice it and jump on that and trade that correctly? Nope. I did try some shorts in here, and then I got wrecked. And then I tried some more shorts and got wrecked, and I thought, I'm not playing with you anymore. And all the way down, if I'd have been playing with it, it would have been difficult to trade. Anyway, the MACD is not yet crossed to the negative here. And it made some big runs up before crossing to the negative. Some big runs up, and we haven't had one of those yet. So still on guard for that. Watching for everything to pull back right now. This is a different beast. Now, what does the Ichimoku say on this time frame? I want to go out to the long-term time frame, and what I'm aiming to compare for is a little bit harder now because I don't have Bitcoin in the background. Does it work? Let me add it. Add or compare symbol. So BTC USD. Okay. Format it the way you want. USD. And I was using Bitstamp. No, Bitfinex in the background, Bitstamp in the foreground. If I make this an area, why is that showing up like that? I'll mess around with that later. But we know the time frames was March or November of right in here. And this is what I'm comparing it to, is that we've come up to a downward cloud into the cloud, and it's a sell signal in a downtrend. And as the cloud continued downward, so did the price. So this is what I'm wanting to compare against, except that the cloud here for us has twisted to the positive. And it didn't before in this episode. It just continued to stay red as it broke down further. So that is important. That if this is coming down out of that cloud, this is going to be a sell signal. And that will be when that blue crosses over the red here on the 1-day view. So, all right, so now we got a baseline for the Ichimoku cloud, that it is inside the cloud. It was below the cloud here before and broke down. Let's compare against the other coins. So we don't have the history in this, but here it's definitely below the cloud and a sell signal in a downtrend. If we go to EOS, it does have the history. It was a big, thick cloud. It did go positive here for a little bit. It did twist to the positive, skinny, skinny, skinny cloud to the side, and then dropped out of it. Here we are, skinny, skinny, skinny cloud. It could drop out of this. It's a very similar scenario right now. We have to break up above these clouds if we're going to be changing the tune. And let me now continue on. This is a bottom formation in Ethereum. It did poke up above the cloud. So it didn't do the same as before. It broke it, like here, it didn't. And in November, it broke down lower. Here, it did get up above the cloud. I'm not sure what the applause is for, but I'm grateful for it. The alert box is up on top. It should have done something. I'm not sure what the applause are for. It startled me. Now, Ethereum, let me go in, because we'll watch this now to see if it goes back down below the cloud. It did before. It came up through the cloud, made this formation, then back down below. So this is the only one so far that's above the cloud, one of the four. Litecoin is definitely not above the cloud. It really calved out here before and down more, where it's got a lot of work to get up above this cloud. So I'm actually was bullish just earlier, and the more I'm watching this, the less bullish I am. Here we are. Look how it poked up through the cloud in the past and then back down for some trouble. So this is where I'm thinking we're going to get some trouble, and we'll see more with the Bitcoin dominance here in a second. What are we on now? Ripple. It is also made it above the cloud. Tron is just coming up above the cloud. Ethereum is above the cloud. EOS is not, but it's in the cloud. ADA is not, it's in the cloud. Just to get a perspective of where everything is, this is up above the cloud. It's so different than what we did before that this doesn't really help right now. It doesn't give me a big sell signal feeling in this one. Until it gets down and breaks below the cloud level here, this is all supporting it. So bouncing off of these levels would be stronger. It's not easy, but I definitely want to be on guard against the pullback because of Bitcoin dominance. So you can see in this chart right now that Bitcoin dominance is broken just below this head and shoulders top formation, and it's pressing back up against it from underneath. So it's got some resistance now to push up against to make it past there. But if it does, it's probably going to go on a whoosh. And we can see here in the, let's go to the 4-hour time frame for Bitcoin, Ethereum versus Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ripple. These are all at the bottom of big downtrends. Bitcoin has come up, and it looks like it's continuing to go up. So for my own thinking, if Bitcoin starts to build pressure and blast and starts to look like it's going to make it past $10,000, the alts are going to suffer. The Bitcoin is going to go on a more of a parabolic run, and the alts are going to see a true capitulation spike downward. And the way we can really tell if it's true or not is to be watching what we have here for the Patron Bull Market Watch spreadsheet. Because this is where we've gone day after day and we've graded all of the different currencies on Poloniex and on Binance. So here's an example from back in January and February where we could see the markets getting pressed down. Then they hit a bottom formation. They started to come up. We got some alerts, and then they turned into hold status coins. But these coins at this time, they didn't last long before the exponential moving averages crossed over and they told us to get out. So it wasn't a bottom formation. It was a potential, but it really didn't last long. And we all know that by the end of March, everything crashed and all the alts suffered big time. So it was really important to know when to get out of that and when to put your weight back into Bitcoin. So if the shift is happening, then we want to lighten our load in the altcoins as these top formations are happening. So one of the benefits that our Patreon members and our Pro Alert subscribers get is a daily email that sends you this data so that you can log in and get the details. Which are the 11 coins that hit an exit today? And there were 14 coins that hit an exit yesterday as well on Binance. And by the time we go and do this scan again the next time tomorrow, there's probably going to be a whole slew of exits come out. And I'm just looking over at our, because we had a new alert and a new target entry for BRD was hit. In our pro alerts, we have the live information that comes into our Discord chat. So as it's happening, we're getting these alerts here. And then once a day, we go through this for the color-coded spreadsheet. The main thing to watch, though, is Bitcoin dominance. If this goes up above this where the red arrow is, all of the alts are going to be crashing or breaking down below their potential 1, 2, 3 bottom formations. They're going to be easing back. Whether or not they break down to new lows is, I don't know, but I don't want to hold a market that's going sideways. I'd rather be holding the market that's going up. So if Bitcoin dominance is rising and Bitcoin price is rising, it's a good idea to lighten your load in the alts. So let's go take a look at Bitcoin because there's no answer to it yet. We're watching this closely to see what's happening, but this is building up in a bullish territory. So if it starts to break back up above these levels and stages, I'd be really carefully watching the alts that I have to be sure that I'm closing them at a small loss or at a small profit, moving my stop losses up on them. Now, we've gone through the routine of these coins, and I want to stay true to the schedule of going through these coins in this order so that when I come back in 6 months or a year, I can rewatch this video and get right to the data. Now, after we're done all this stuff, we can just go randomly. So if there is something that you would like me to take a look at, you can put it in the chat, and I'll bring up whatever market you'd like. So let's do Digibyte. Let me go type that in because I can't say it. GBYTE. It gets much the same diagnosis as many of the alts. Most of the alts. They all are falling into two broad categories in my own eyes. And the one category is the coins that are above the 200 period moving average and making a formation. And those that are like here below the 200 period moving average. So there are a category of coins that have made a bottom formation here. Then they've come up a little bit and they are like just above this 200 period moving average. They've come down soon enough that they're closer. So this may be a generation 2 or a stage 2 coin that I would be looking at in the second wave of the alts. But if we look back at what this did from December until April, when we had a bit of a bull run, we had some coins doing some 300% gains here. This was a pump and dump dream of all sorts of hope and enthusiasm and a lot of social media. But these are big exhaustion wicks of newbies being dumped on, it seems to me. And now for my own part, I would expect that this is going to do it again. And it's probably going to do it bigger. And so I would have $20 invested in here, and I would have $5, $5, $5, $5 set out in sell orders. And then I would go off and do something else. And I wouldn't pay any attention to this anymore. And if it came back and all of a sudden it hit these targets, I would reconsider, can I sell out right now? Is it worth taking those profits? Of course, you would have the profit from all of this now cashed out into Bitcoin. You could reconsider afterwards. Do you want to reinvest in this? Do you want to invest into something else? So preparing for this kind of what I call a popcorn move is a bit of a gamble, sort of like playing the roulette table and putting your chips on all sorts of different numbers. You're going to win a little bit of them from those bets every once in a while. So for me, it's not one of the big ones that's turning around and giving me a big warm fuzzy when I see that chart. So if I go to ADA, this too, look at that, 200 period moving average, not so good. Maybe I'm not comparing it correctly because in my mind, I want on the 12-hour time frame, and this is where some of the charts are looking better than others in that they are closer to this 200 period moving average. So if I go to Ethereum, we can see that it's already above that 200 period moving average. This is the generation of coins that I was trying to allude to, where we have these other coins that are below the 200 period moving average. Woo, right where we are. And I think that G-Byte is one of those. Litecoin looks like a massive bullish crab pattern. It may. I've tried to avoid crabs. But the premise we're working on here is working the 1, 2, 3 formation in its varieties and unfolding that trading pattern as it manifests from stage to stage. And so we were here for the 1, 2, 3 bottom formation as we in December, as this set itself up. We had the potential bottom. We were ready for it. We took this as a trade and it really went well. It was a fantastic trade. Now we're really watching for that same pattern again and just continuing to watch it and unfold this into a diversified portfolio so that we can see that we are getting into the alts as they are moving up and that we are unfolding and decommissioning our portfolio when the market tells us to. And that's it. We just move our stuff in there when the market tells us to and move it back out. And the real trick is to know which of the coins to be moving the cash into and out of, because there are those coins that didn't do any moves back in December. There were some coins that did some really fantastic moves through this period of time. There were some coins that really made some nice moves. There was another generation of coins that made moves here. And then we saw there was a few that really got kicked butt, but all of them right through this time, Bitcoin dominance made the big difference. So as Bitcoin dominance is changing now, that's what we're going to watch as our main deal. Evening, Dean H. Funny how small cap coins are doing well, but the larger cap coins are not moving much. That's because it takes very little money to move those small cap coins, but they are going to retrace with very little selling too. So keep your stops up there. Bitcoin will be over 10K at halving. I don't know if halving actually has a big effect on the immediate prices, but we'll see. $30,000 to $40,000. Well, I think it's going to go up, but we'll chart it all. We still need one thing only. Big, nasty, horrid, bear red capitulation candle. Yep, that's what we need, and that's what I think we're heading for. Would you wait until Bitcoin breaks above the trend line before exiting the alts? I would be looking at the alts only with the 1, 2, 3 top formation. So let me go to our trade alert journal in Discord. 2 days ago or what have you, we had a bunch of exits in our bull market watch spreadsheet. Let me go back here to see where I can. What's the date on this there? Yesterday. Let's go back a bit further. Here we are, is the slew of them that I did the exits for as they were happening. So as they were happening, I'm posting this in here last Thursday, 4:23 a.m. And here we are. I'm going through the charts at 6:18 a.m. And NXT had crossed over the exponential moving average on the 4-hour time frame here. And so this was an exit signal, time to get out of it there, right that moment. And you have to have this planned strategy in your pocket ahead of time so that when you see this happening, you know to get out. Now, our Pro Alert subscribers get this data. So if you're paying attention, then you're getting these notifications as they happen. Here's CND was creating that top formation and breaking down. So this is a good time to get out, knowing that that's our time. But afterwards, then you look back and say, geez, I should have gotten out. Now it's not so much fun. You really have to have this knowledge in your pocket and practice it and watch it and practice it so that when it happens, you just do it. Even if you're just closing half of your position and say, I'm going to hold on to the other half until the 12-hour exponential moving average crosses over, that's fair game. I agree with it too. But these exits present themselves. It's a 1, 2, 3 top formation. It's the break of the uptrend line. And then our 4-hour EMA crosses over. Then you can see the extra details here of the divergence in the RSI to help back it up. Now, this is all hypothetical. These are all just chart patterns that I'm taking screenshots of so that we can study them later and make actual case studies out of them. But you can see here over and over again that here's a potential one that was a little bit over eager entry. The 1, 2, 3 bottom formation was barely set up. It jumped into it, and then it crashed back and crossed over the EMA again, kicking us out of the trade. Might be a better idea for these to have waited longer. And of course, if we see them topping out and everything coming down, we'll know. But here again, so much sideways action that the 12-hour EMA cross is too similar to the 4-hour EMA cross now. And so we may be better off to filter these trades that we don't get into them until the 1-day cross of our exponential moving average. Then we can use the 4-hour to get out as our exit. So here, like LRC gave us our exit signal, MTL gave us the exit signal, and all of these are following a very similar pattern at the very same time. Same time of the day, 1, 2, 3 top formation, break of the uptrend line, the 4-hour crosses over, and then the next day a whole bunch crossed over, and we had a whole range of them that were very close to crossing over and giving us the exit signal. So knowing the 1, 2, 3 bottom and the entry signal is only part of the game. Thank you very much, MBAD. Smash that like button. I haven't done theta yet, but I will. Let me go through this again. So would I wait until Bitcoin breaks above the trend line before exiting the alts? No, I would exit each alt based on its cross of the exponential moving average, and then I would hold the ones that haven't crossed yet. So if I have a portfolio of 20 alts, I'm working each of those according to how it's moving against the overall Bitcoin dominance. So some of them will react more strongly to Bitcoin dominance and some will react more slowly, and I have to respond to each one of them. And then I know my portfolio is going to unfold according to like the bell curve of which are the good ones and which were the bad ones. And I'll get out of the ones that crapped out first, fastest. For my own part, every time I'm doing a trade entry or exit, I'm asking myself the same question. Am I being greedy and fearful at the right time? When I'm putting on a trade, this is the time to be fearful, and the trade should be small, and I should be reducing it or removing it unless the market proves me correct. Then afterwards, I can be greedy after it's proved me correct, and we can talk about that, but we haven't got there yet. These markets haven't given us a turnaround where we have a chance to talk about that. And then, of course, I don't want to be greedy at the beginning of a trade because then I'm putting on my big, large position, and if it doesn't prove me right, I've got the biggest losses possible. I want to start off smaller and be fearful at the beginning of the trades. And then when I am closing the trade, I want to say, now, am I being greedy or fearful at the wrong time? If I'm closing this trade and it's in profit, am I being fearful at the wrong time? Because this is the second biggest mistake that myself has made, and I read that other traders have made, and many of the people who join our courses have told me the same thing, is taking their profits too soon is one of their biggest mistakes, and then they watch the market take off with them afterwards. So that's being fearful at the wrong time. Where somebody who is correct in their trade, it's time to be greedy and add on to that trade so that we're pressing our luck when we're lucky. And we'll talk about that when we get a chance as it unfolds. So let's go over theta. Binance, filter it by Bitcoin, get rid of my favorites and scroll all the way down to theta. All right. Theta is really building up nicely. I like it. And it is on a watch list for sure that we have. And yet, I don't want to, just for the whole state of the market, and since I'm looking at Bitcoin dominance and watching that it's like going the wrong direction. Right? It's pushing up against this green line. It's got to break down the other way. And if Bitcoin dominance is breaking down below these levels, and we have markets like Theta actually breaking above these levels, then I'm going to be more happy and more excited about this, and I'll be jumping up and down. I will be. It'll be a much more exciting live stream for sure when markets are going our way, but not until it actually breaks above these levels. And so I know that I could go into the relative strength index, and I could go into the on balance volume, and we could look at the MACD and the Ichimoku cloud for this, and they're all going to say pretty much uncertain things that can't be confirmed until after Bitcoin dominance gives us a direction and prices break up above these levels. And that's it. It's a repeat story for pretty much every market right now, which is kind of a drag. But it's important that you don't spend any more time on this than you need to. You've already spent enough time on this to know that the markets are not going to do something explosive, right? And it's actually kind of dangerous to be in the alts right now. It might be a good idea to be wary of your positions. And certainly as Bitcoin is building strength and going higher, if we see Bitcoin dominance breaking above this big green line, alts are in, that is the measure of alts losing. That's the measure. There's no question. This is the measure of it. So pay attention to those top formations, your exponential moving averages crossing over, just as we saw in those examples of the exit signals. So this can't, even though it's looking great and it's all setting up, it's got some time yet before it's going to be actually time to pounce on it. And, you know, it could be the moment to buy it. It could be the very lowest price of all, and it's going to go up from here. But I want to wait for it to change directions now. I'm afraid of more sideways action and sitting. And if Bitcoin is going up, I want my money in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's giving better signs than the alts right now. So we'll tune in again next time and next time and next time, and we'll track it so that one day it'll be the day just before the change, and we'll do a live stream. We'll record all of our thoughts, and then 2 weeks later we'll look back and say, hey, you know what? That really was the day. We can go back and review the video, and that's when we can really cement in our minds the correctness of these different parts of this trading plan. And you may be wondering, what trading plan is that? The trading plan is free, and this sales pitch here really sucks. Enter your email for a free webinar on our complete trading system. Really doesn't tell you anything about the benefits you get from this trading system, but put your email in and you'll get some benefits. I'll improve the explanation of what is included here. But when you take that webinar, you are more educated. You are up to date. You understand what we are doing here with these charts. In fact, what you're getting there is the cryptocurrency trading plan and the 5 stages of the trade that's made for a beginner, right from the beginning to the end, to understand the entire cycle of a trade. And then this bull market watch spreadsheet is intended to help people who have read the book or taken the webinar, and now you want to build the habits. You have the knowledge, but that's not the same thing as having the habits. And so building those habits and transforming the way you actually trade is the name of the game, not just doing technical analysis, because technical analysis is not the same as trading. It's part of it, but it's like part of a complete breakfast. You know, you can't just have that one thing. You got to have everything in your breakfast if you're going to do it properly. You have to have all 5 stages of the trade, and then you have to practice it over and over and over until it's reflexive. And that's what we're doing on this live stream. Is there an EMA available for Bitcoin dominance? Probably. You know what? Absolutely. Actually, you can use the indicators on these. So if we put EMA, I hope there's an EMA cross. Yeah, moving average with EMA cross. EMA cross. Oops. So in this EMA cross, let's do 20 period and 60 period. And I advocate for thicker lines. Give it to me. There we go. And the crosses we can do in a bright yellow. Right there. So there's our EMA. And what time frame? This is the 2-hour charts. Can I do a 4-hour? Or 12-hour? Here's our 12-hour EMA, where this says, you know, tell me in the chat now. You have to tell me, what does this crossover tell us? This crossover right now, when this happened, what was that telling us? Somebody didn't like my singing. That was telling us it's time to get into alts. And this will tell us definitively that it's time to get back out of alts. If this crosses back to the negative, right? This is where I was watching like a crazy man. Right in here, I thought, oh, here we go. Our alts are going to go. But look at this. Who wants to get involved with all the sideways action? That's crap. So even the 12-hour isn't enough to filter it properly. Let's go to the 3-day. That's a little bit better. But you can see that you're really getting in out of alts. You didn't get back into alts pretty much at all. You got tempted a little bit and you were out of alts again. You're into Bitcoin. Still, this is not telling you to get back into alts at all until this crosses over big time. So by the 3-day view, this really filters it out as to when to get back into alts or not. And if I go into a closer time frame, it brings it in closer so that we can get in sooner, but it kicks us out, in and out, and in and out a lot more often. And so that we have a lot more indecision in our crypto trading if we are looking at Bitcoin dominance, exponential moving average crossover on too short of a time frame. Now this did cross over and is saying to get into the alts right now, and this is a really ugly chart now, but on the 1-day crossover, this is finally telling that we have a 1, 2, 3, 2, 3 pattern. It's broken above that 1, 2, 3 pattern, and we have our crossover. So if this crosses back over again, we could be in for some sideways action. That's still a possibility, but it's pretty good that it's crossed to the positive. That gives me a little bit more hope and less pessimism. But right today, if this is continuing to go up past the 67% range, the alts are I'm going to be reducing my positions in the alts and look for re-establishing those positions again. So we can use this EMA on the 4-hour or the 12-hour as our first indicator, and the 3-day as a second. Well, they all have a place to use in your consideration. But one thing that's important right now that we are just experiencing is that in the course and in the book and every place else, I'm going to go to a chart that I'm more familiar with, just because it gives such classical patterns too. I talk about the cross of the 12-hour EMA. 1, 2, 3 bottom formation, cross of the 12-hour EMA. There's our buy signal right there. But the longer that the markets go sideways, the less useful that is. Well, this is the 1-day view. So the less useful the 12-hour is, the more length we have sideways. And we've got to... Woo! Thank you, Keith, for subscribing during the live stream. I hope this is information that's helpful for you. This is how I do my trading, and this is the way I look at the markets. And so I'm hoping that this is helpful for other people who are watching too. So I appreciate the subscribers. I appreciate the thumbs up. Trying to keep on a regular schedule of doing this at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, focusing in the first part of the episode to work on those 6 or 7 markets and go through the indicators so that we have those ones that we can go over to BitMEX and we can leverage trade them. When there's a signal that comes up that's nice and clean, we can do some 10 times leverage longs on or shorts on some of those markets. And damned if all of this lasted a while. There's not been very much good to be trading. And right now it's like a sell signal in Ethereum's like the only thing setting up as a clear chart pattern. And we'll see how that plays out. And so as I was saying, the 12-hour EMA is the base, but here it gets crappy because you're in and out and in and out. And so it's lost its effectiveness once we go past 60 days in the bottom formation. So we are pretty much there now, and it loses its effectiveness, and we have to use a different filter. So to automate this so that a bot could trade it changes how the trading plan will work over time, because a bot would not be adjusting its trading parameters at this time in order to filter out some of the crap and try to only get in with the actual trend change, not to get in at the bottom of a downtrend and then go into a sideways trend, because there's other places to put the equity, the other places to put the money. There's markets that are moving. And I think Bitcoin is going to be going. Let's go and take a look. And no matter how close we study Bitcoin, how we go into the indicators and everything, it comes up back with the same story over and over again, that it has to break technical levels and build structure along with confirmation from the indicators before there's any there's no answer. No matter how far deep you get into the analysis now, it's just a matter of waiting for it to choose direction and then unfold your position or defold your position depending on how it ends up going. So if it starts to break down below these levels and build some structure, it has to test these levels and hold that structure and continue. So each place it's got to hold that structure. You can see what I'm drawing here, support and resistance levels. Then we can start to make some decisions. But while it's sitting in the middle like this, there's a lot of nothing to do. It's important to do nothing. And if you've got another coin you'd like me to take a look at, we can run through that. But other than that, there's a great yoga class coming up. Go and practice some Kundanyasana. So thanks again for tuning in, everybody. I appreciate you being here. I hope this is helpful for you. I look forward to hearing your success stories. And if you're interested, come on over to the website, intro-to-cryptos.ca. Get that free webinar so that you're not looking back 6 months from now. You sign up for it because it's free. And then you sign up and you say, oh shit, if I'd have only done that 6 months ago. Go and get that stuff now. Then when you're following along with the stream, you're going to be prepared for stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 of the trade. You understand what I'm telling you. Digibyte before we slide away. Digibyte. Oh, look at this. Okay, so some of the coins are pulling back and they are breaking down below the exponential moving average on the 4-hour time frame, but not this one. And so I would be selling out of those that are breaking down below this and crossing over, and I would be holding those that are going up. Now, let me know while I'm sitting here, is the Discord sound notifications coming through on the live stream? Is it distracting for you? Do you hear it? And if you don't hear it, I'll just ignore it. But this is a good pattern. This is a good formation. For one part of me, the eager trader, wants to get in right at the very littlest bottom that there is. If there's any kind of hint of a bottom, I want to be into it. But then there's the longer term trader part of me that's saying, yeah, give me the breakout, come back and bounce off of that. Then I'll give you some juice, right? Then you've actually showed me that you've changed direction and you're not just going to do one of those fake out breakouts and come down. Because if this is going up and Bitcoin dominance is coming up this way, Digibyte isn't going to hold against everything else. it's going to do a quick move up and then it'll pull back hard. And so those kind of things I want to pay attention to. Stage 1 of the trade, if I'm getting into it, I'm immediately into defensive strategy. Stage 2 of this trade is defensive. Stage 3 is defensive. Stage 4 is the only time we get into an aggressive strategy with our trades. Boom, boom. I'll assume I'm wrong until proven correct. And when you're proven correct, add on to it. So this is true for all risky things in life. Start off really small, and if it doesn't prove you correct, don't do more. Not if it's neutral and it sort of doesn't do anything, don't do more of it. If it doesn't, it's got to prove you correct. Then do more of it. Add on to it. Boom, boom. I'm great to have you along. Wheeze the juice. Wheezing the juice. Anyway, I will sign off for now, and I'll see you guys over on our Discord chat. We'll continue the conversation, and we'll do some updates. If Bitcoin is breaking above this stuff, we'll be updating it there, and we'll be monitoring it. We'll monitor exactly what the alts are doing, if they are taking off or not. Thanks again, and I will see you on the next episode.